Hey, what's up, Street Talks, the Eric from Street Photography blog. So today I want to give you some practical tips on how to conquer gas. So first of all, what is gas? Gas is an acronym for Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And the concept is we don't have enough faith in our photography and we think that buying a new camera or lens or piece of equipment is going to re-inspire us, help us achieve our creative potential and whatnot. Personally, I've been afflicted with gas for a very long time, and to be honest, I'm still probably afflicted with gas. Um, if you were to watch my internet activity, you would see me looking at Porsches, looking at like old school Ford Mustangs. You would see me scouring the web for, the Apple website, the Tesla website, and it's this irrational concept that for some reason you're lacking something in your life, and having that gear, that car, that watch, or that new iPhone is going to help you become happy. But in my personal experience, whenever I have obtained some sort of material thing I desired, whether that be like an M9 or a Toyota Prius and whatnot, your life just reverts to normal and you're not satisfied. It's kind of like this Greek Roman mythology of, I think it was, I forget, it's not Sisyphus, I forget what the name of the guy is, but essentially this guy is in hell and he's dying of thirst. But every time he tries to drink the water goes away from him. Every time he's dying of hunger, every time he's grabbing for the fruit, he can't eat it. So the concept is the same thing with material desires, like gear acquisition syndrome is no matter how much shit you have, you're always still going to want more. Like I taught this workshop, and one of the participants, he had like 3 or 4 Leicas and like at least 20 Leica lenses, and he still wasn't happy or satisfied. He wanted more. And so I'll just give some practical tips, 3 practical tips on how to conquer gas, things which have worked for me. So number 1, avoid the song of the sirens. So in the Greek epic with Ulysses, pretty much there's a scene where there's these sirens, which are these, essentially imagine like evil mermaids in the water. And their song was so beautiful and so harmonious that when mortal men would hear it and see these beautiful sirens in the water, they would jump in and obviously they would get killed and eaten alive or whatnot. So the sirens are a metaphor for all these desires we have in life. So listening to rappers or listening to people who, tech blogs or people who review gear, they're always so enthusiastic about this new camera, this new lens, like, okay, if you buy this, you're gonna be so happy, blah, 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 blah. And trust me, I've done the same myself because I'm enthusiastic. But once you buy it, it's your death and you just wasted a bunch of money. And one of the best ways to conquer the song of the sirens is to plug your ears with wax. So essentially in this myth, Ulysses orders his men on the ship to tie him to the mast, to the front of the ship, and to cover his ears with beeswax. So when they finally did sail past the sirens, he's like struggling. He's like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. I want to jump in. And then even though his ears were filled with wax, he still kind of hear them. So practical way you could do this is installing pop-up blockers and website blockers. So we all know what those vices of ours are. So I used to be addicted to a lot of tech blogs, like The Verge was one I was always on. And I installed a website blocker called Stay Focused on Chrome, and then on Safari it's called Waste No Time. And by plugging my ears with wax and also uninstalling all social media apps from my phone, I'm just a little bit less distracted. I give a less care about all this gear out there, because I know once I see a piece of new gear or thing that I'm tempted to buy, I'm going to want to buy it and I'm going to feel miserable. Second tip, 1 camera, 1 lens. So ever since I moved here to Vietnam, the only camera I brought with me was a Ricoh GR version 2. It's got an integrated 28mm lens, which means I cannot change the lens. And to me, 1 camera, 1 lens, it's pure bliss. Is that you leave the house, you know exactly what camera to bring with you, and also generally the smaller the camera, the better. And for a lot of people, that just might be your smartphone or your iPhone. I do believe that the simplest solutions are the most elegant and the most practical. And so for you know yourself the best. If you're huge bulky DSLR with your zoom lens isn't fitting in your bag or your backpack, it's probably not a good camera to have. And so just try to experiment and figure out what that one camera, one lens is for you. I think the Ricoh GR version 2 is probably the best camera for 90% of photographers out there. And of course I'm biased, but essentially just find whatever works for you and just stick with it. And all these great photos that I've been making are just shot in the Ricoh GR version 2, and the biggest reason why I think it's useful is I just keep it in P mode, program mode, which automatically chooses the aperture and shutter speed, center point autofocus, ISO 1600. So I just set it and forget it. And so when I'm making images, I don't have to think before I click the shutter. And so I'm at coffee shops, I'll just take out my camera, saw this at a coffee shop, lady coming in out the door and just snapped a few photos and I made a great photo. So the assignment is, if you're currently afflicted with gas, take all the cameras and gear you have, just lock it all in a cupboard, or better yet, purge it. So what I did was I gave away all my cameras and lenses or lent them on long-term loan to friends who I thought could use it better than I did, or selling it or trading it or whatnot. Just stick with one camera, one lens for a year, and just be content with it. And the last piece of tip is, why do you make photos? So whenever we meet other photographers, they're always like, what camera do you shoot with? What lens do you shoot with? Why are you on Instagram? Blah, 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 blah. No one ever asks, why do you make photographs? And if you discover why you make photos, it's going to get rid of a lot of your gas. So for example, I was going through a period of time, like, should I shoot digital, 35mm film, medium format film, my smartphone, blah, blah, blah. Should I buy a digital medium format? Okay, all this craziness. One day I just finally sat down and I'm like, why do I make photos? And I came up with the answer that I make photos as a way to open up my heart to strangers. So having a camera gives me the confidence to approach strangers and to talk with them. Also for me, photography is a way of capturing personal memories that I hope to capture these personal memories of loved ones and our family members. And I want my viewers to be encouraged to do the same. And so using photography as a tool for appreciation of love, of compassion in life. And when I realized that, it really didn't matter what camera I shot. I could shoot that with my smartphone, my point and shoot, like a DSLR. It really doesn't matter. But I realized if my goal was to capture personally meaningful moments to myself, those decisive moments, or to get closer to people, the smallest, least obtrusive camera was the most conducive to my needs. So just ask yourself, why do you make photos? Also, I think photography is like a philosophy for life. It's when you're making photographs, you're photographing fleeting moments, fleeting encounters, and people. And I like to think that we're all equal in birth and all equal in death. So photography is kind of like a meditation on death, because once you make a photograph of a moment, it's never going to happen again. It's dead. But you could capture that moment in your pixels. And like this photograph I shot, on the bottom I photographed of my mom, and the photo on the top, Cindy actually photographed me. And I know one day I'm going to be that guy on the top of the frame. I'm going to be dead, some casket looking out. And I know on the bottom, one day my mom's going to die. So essentially when I'm making these photographs, I'm thinking about the mortality of life and how fleeting it all is. And so if you think that today is going to be your last day on Earth, what would you photograph, what would you not photograph? And would it really matter what camera you shot? Something to think about. So the last assignment is write why you make photos. Put it into a blog post. If you don't have a blog, I recommend WordPress.com, Medium.com. You can just post it on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. And it doesn't have to be long. Just make it a sentence or two, or a paragraph, or a few paragraphs, and do it for your own benefit. And I hope that it will help you find more personal meaning in your photography. And you can do the hashtag personal photography to see what other people have written. So these are just some basic assignments, how to conquer gas in your photography and life. But ultimately know that photography isn't a way for us to just buy a bunch of cameras to get more megapixels, to get better image quality, to have sharper photos, to upload images that get more likes and followers. it's really a tool for us to build our personal confidence, to find more appreciation in life and more contentment in life, and to enjoy the love of our friends, our family, and our other loved ones. So, yeah, if you want to read more articles on how to conquer gas, go on the Googles, search Eric Kim gas. And once again, I'm the biggest person who is afflicted with gas. And so you could just check out some articles on my blog on how to conquer gas, or just go to erickhimphotography.com/blog/gas. I'll include a link on the YouTubes. And I've written a lot of things on how to stop pixel peeping, why should one camera lens, how to conquer gas, etc. So check that out. All right, until next time, guys. Peace out.